All right, what is going on, everyone? Happy Easter. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Let us dive into some of the futures right now. Oh, wow, that's actually a pretty substantial change from last time I looked. So we're green. I was just out for like a half hour, and things are turning around. So we're going to be talking about the top stocks to watch this week, like we always do here on the channel every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I got my list, so we'll be going through some stuff that I like. And then, of course, we'll be talking about stuff in the chat. In the chat, here's the thing. I don't like when people start just kind of spamming tickers. So if you put a ticker in there, understand that, number one, make sure it's ticker symbol. Don't just put the company name, because I don't know every company name, so I can't look it up. But also put something, of value, right? What do you think about this stock at this price point? This looks like support to me. Like, put something like that. It's more engaging. It's helpful, because if I don't see it, if I can't get to it, at least somebody else can, at least, they have more to go off of, right? So that's more helpful. That's the whole point of what we're trying to do here, okay? So futures look pretty good. We saw last week, market blew up, in terms of, pushing to the upside. S&P hitting new highs on Friday. On Thursday. Friday was closed. Futures were ripping on Friday, because you actually could trade them in the morning hours on Friday. So things look pretty strong, at least to finish off last week. And it looks like, futures do look pretty solid as of right now for a pretty strong open come tomorrow, come Monday morning. So it should be an interesting week for sure. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff that has been pushing up, tech specifically, a lot of rebound names in the tech space, or just really in a lot of high growth stocks that have been taking a lot of hit. So that is that. Gonna grab a Red Bull at 1 a.m. Appreciate the dedication, That's awesome. All right, so let's pull up SPY. If you guys are just jumping in right now, make sure the thumbs up button so that we can get more ideas flowing in the chat. That is what it's all about. So taking a look at SPY, we closing up at the high of the day on Thursday. Beautiful. Looks very, very strong. We are going to be, now that we're back to our all-time highs, the next levels we got to watch are going to be up towards the top of this trend line, which we're going to have, looks like up around like 410. So until we get towards like 410, I could see I can see the S&P going further, right? I can see SPY going further. So we'll see how that goes. And then once we get up towards like 410, 415, 420 potentially, then we'll probably be looking for a potential pullback, and maybe we start to lighten out on some swing positions, potentially. We'll see. Small caps still look pretty strong, or at least they're starting to regain some strength. Would like to see that continuing on Monday, Tuesday this week. Let's see how that goes. In terms of some cryptos, we're going to talk about some of these, because that's certainly an interesting kind of sector, right, in the market. Ethereum is, it pushed up to 2143, pulled back, dipped down, held up just around 2000 as support, and has been pushing back up since. So it looks like Ethereum, if we can take a peek, and we just like to look at this stuff because there's a lot of Bitcoin related stocks. We talk about crypto miners, mining companies. Those are some pretty fun, important stocks we've been, at least lately, have been talking about. About to break this downtrend, so that's pretty interesting to watch. Bitcoin pulled back, actually. So it pushed up towards the beginning of the weekend, or Thursday, Friday, and then pulled back quite a bit. But it pulled back, and now it's looking like it wants to, see some strength to the upside. So we'll see. I still like it, actually, to be honest. I'm going to be holding a lot of my Bitcoin plays, at least, most likely, unless something crazy happens, at least through the Coinbase IPO, which is coming on the 14th or 15th, I believe, of April. So that's kind of like the catalyst for a lot of those plays. So that's going to be very, very important. So outside of that, let's take a peek. Let's go back to SPY, pull this bad boy up, and there it is. Here's SPY. So we're at just over 400. We'd like to see 400 become new support. If it does, that's awesome. Okay. So in terms of some stocks I want to pull up on the list first, because we always want to dive into some of these things. I do want to mention a couple of EV plays, charging plays. I think that's going to be very hot. And the same with the alternative energy, the green energy plays. I think we're going to get back into those as that being a very strong sector. Now, I don't think it's going to be like, oh my gosh, all these stocks are going up 1,000,000%, just like that. I think it's going to be just going to kind of slowly build that strength over the next couple of weeks, as we saw, the infrastructure package and things like that. So in terms of EV plays that are not Tesla, right? Obviously, you have your NIO. Obviously, you can talk about Fisker. You can talk about. I actually like AYRO as one of those, because I've played it in the past. Let's pull this bad boy up here. I played it in the past, and I think it fits really well with what Biden wants in terms of EV fleets, in terms of getting a lot of vehicles to go EV. The types of vehicles they make, you can think of them more of like the if you think about kind of like more campus vehicles, you think about more like hotel, you think about kind of, we can pull up the site really quick to show you guys the types of cars that we're talking about. These are the types of vehicles that they have. These smaller kind of fleet vehicles in a sense that you can bring up to hotel campuses, you can bring college campuses, and get that work done, on the grounds work and stuff like that. So that's types of I like. I think it's pretty cool. So that's why it's one of my favorites. I love it in this consolidation. I think it's going to be a $10 plus stock at some point in the future, for sure. So it's probably one of my swings that I have a higher conviction on longer term. Not necessarily like a quick short pop and drop. I sold into this pop, which ended up being a YouTuber pump in a sense. And so I did no idea at the time. And so I sold into that at the time. And now I'm looking to re-enter here down here under $7. I think it's still pretty good for that. Let's see. Outside of that, what else do we have? We have obviously CCIV is another one as well. So we have Lucid Motors. Why is it not pulling up? CCIV. There it is. Churchill Capital. We have a double bottom setup here, so we can pull in. I have a bunch of lines already put in, but we can put in some more lines. So we got some more support here on $21. So I think under 25, really under 30 is probably a decent spot for a longer term speculative play. If you're looking for more of a short term bounce, low 20s is pretty good in my eyes. That's at least where I'm looking. I don't have any. I missed the big runs back in the day, but after all the pain, everyone's kind of freaking out. Now it's not a terrible idea. This chart setup looks really nice if you're looking at for like a double bottom setup, like one like this. Now I don't know. Obviously, there's gonna be some resistance up around $30, resistance at 33, resistance at 35. But that's the type of setup. Now it's not gonna be straight up, but something like that, I would not be surprised to see, technically speaking. So outside of that, some charging plays. I really have been liking CHPT. The more I've been diving into it, and I'm not surprised why it started to get a lot of attention the past couple of days. So I'm looking for dips on this one. If we can get this thing down towards $25, I would love it. But obviously, it's got some momentum, so I don't know if we'll get that. We'll see. I like this one a lot, though, down towards that range. So that's at least what I'm looking at in terms of CHPT. And then we have BLNK as well. Pull up BLNK. Here, we got Blink charging. This is actually a lot closer towards its all-time highs. I can see this thing getting up there, a little bit faster, potentially. It's a much, I guess, it's a more well-known, I feel like, to many people. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just wrong on that one. But I think people think charging. People are going to think Blink. Just kind of like my take on that. So I would like to see it holding up in the low 40s now as support, because it was a prior resistance. You draw this line in right here. I think I day traded this one last week too. That line right there, I'd like to see that one area holding. If it can, great for a bounce to the upside. And I think Blink hikes up to $50+ relatively soon. At least that's my thoughts. And I just want to point out Tesla, because Tesla's kind of just always fun to watch, because it's always one of those stocks that everyone's talking about, right? But Tesla kind of similar, right? Almost a double bottom, dropping down here to 550. Under 550, then pulling down to like 590s, and then bouncing off that level. Really want to see how how they beat those delivery numbers for quarter one. They had substantially beat the consensus in terms of how many cars they delivered. Want to see how that factors in. So I think it's also funny on Tesla too, because with Tesla, we had the ARK Invest comes out, right? They come out with their price target of Tesla. And it's like $3,000 by 2025. And you're talking, okay, bull case 4,000, and like bear case like 1,500 by 2025. That said, when that came out, it was funny. We saw some weakness in the tech market too. But when that came out, it was like, okay, Tesla's going down, because I forget exactly when that came out, but it was either before this drop or before the recent drop down here. And it's like, it kind of reaffirmed the thought process of like, when everyone is looking one way, you want to look the other way. Now that's a short-term mindset, I think. Obviously, if everyone's looking at a stock one way and they believe in it long-term, obviously, things will iron themselves out long-term. The company can make it, they make it. But in terms of a short-term move, when everyone's looking one way, the trade many times is the other way. So that's something that I just wanted to point out just in general for other stocks. And it's why I like to stay away from stocks that you've seen too much hype in. If you see a lot of hype on a stock, personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. And how I measure that is I look on social media. So I don't do a good enough job, honestly, watching and looking on YouTube, because I don't personally really follow many other stock-related channels on YouTube, because I just don't pay it. I mean, I have enough stuff that I'm watching myself that I don't feel like a lot of the stuff I see on YouTube too is like too much like hype BS. Some of it's, if you follow the right people, it's good stuff. But so I just personally don't. But I more so on Twitter and more so on other social media platforms is how I kind of gauge the sentiment. Outside of maybe seeing some thumbnails on some stocks, like you're seeing like ZOM stock, you're seeing like back in the day you saw like SNDL. All those stocks got so much hype, and everyone loved them for whatever reasons, right? No one actually liked. I mean, the fundamentals of the companies were pretty bad, but people got behind them, and so they were great when you had that momentum, when you had everyone behind it, and then quickly the backside came on a lot of those. So you want to be careful of the backside for a lot of stuff. So take your money and run if you get caught up in something that you start to see a lot of hype, and you start kind of the valuation fundamentally starts making no sense. It's like, okay, if I'm still in the stock, I'm going to take some profits. That's how I would see it. Okay. Oil plays, man. Let's take a peek at USO. Let's see what we're looking at for USO. What's probably going to happen, it looks like it's actually trying to push up, consolidate here around $40 or so, low 40s. I think it's what's going to potentially happen is they're going to probably go. The question is going to be when, and the timing is going to be hard. I thought the timing was going to come as USO pushed up, and it just didn't happen, right? They didn't run as much. So I think a lot of them are setting up for much better setups. So let's take a peek. CEI, look at CEI. I mean, this is a beautiful setup. I think CEI is actually, it needs to be on my list. If it's not, yeah, it's on my list. Because look at this thing, $1 support, okay? It's sitting just over $1. CEI, this thing has news like every week. They drop a new press release, it seems like. So you can probably get a good 25 cents out of CEI on a PR, minimum, right? And you can get a lot more. So they're setting right back up for really good entry points. HUSA, I mean, this chart looks beautiful in my eyes. $2 holding up, under $2 I think is a steal. I would grab that under 2, wait for a spike to the upside. You don't necessarily know what's going to happen. It could be an outside catalyst in the oil, space that just happens all of a sudden. You get some crazy news from overseas, or you get something like that, and these things spike. It's kind of weird because they didn't necessarily correlate very, very well to oil prices actually going up. So, it happens. Sometimes it happens, and it is what it is. And then what's it? USEG is another one that's setting up as well. Yeah, it's kind of bottoming out here in the mid 4s, low to mid, $4 holding up a support for USEG. They'll get their time. It's unfortunately kind of like a wait and see. So, I mean, have them on the list. I don't currently have any as of right now. And of course, what's going to happen is that when I'm not in them, they're going to run. But, it is what it is. The more CEI sits down here towards $1, and CEI is kind of like a cult stock as well, I might grab some CEI this week and just put up, set some sells at like 125, 150, 175. And if we get a press release in the morning, I take my profits, right? And make my money pretty quickly, right? That's kind of how I'll see all that stuff. SNPR, voltage charging, $12. Let's take a peek. SNCR 34X, more catch up blank. Yeah, I mean, this setup doesn't look too bad at all. Let's take a peek if we can draw some lines in on this one too. Trend line. Let's see if we can connect. Yeah, let's get rid of that one. Let's put one in on the shorter scale from November through now. A little bit easier to kind of connect some of these lines. So this doesn't look terrible. I would like to see it holding up here in the mid 3s. I wouldn't want to see it going to like 350 or so. And that holds up pretty well. That's looking for good for a reversal. Polo Power. This is one that's, I remember watching it last week and it was pushing up. Yeah, it bounced a little bit. It's got to go over 15. Over 15 is the next level. Really like 15, $16. Over that point, then I'm interested and would like to see it holding support over 15. Then I like it. But, the problem here is that you kind of had a reversal from like under 10 to, up towards 50. It hit 15 on Friday and then pulled back. So you kind of had that resistance. Now you got to get over 15. So I'm not a big fan of taking an entry up here. Would like to take an entry if it breaks over 15, 16 and holds that as new support. That's where I'd prefer to take an entry on Polo, personally. The thing about low flow oils too, when you're talking about low flow oils, you don't want to chase those things. I'll tell you that right now. You want to be in them before the spike. You do not want to chase those things. So if you miss them, you miss them, right? Now, the way that I would say going about it, if all of a sudden you start noticing some oilers are running and you have a couple on your list, we've talked about so many in prior lives and videos, you have a couple on your list that haven't run, maybe it's worth taking a shot at some of those if they, run in sympathy, right? That's where I would be chasing. I wouldn't chase. I would be like, okay, these are only up 5%. the big runner, the other Oilers are up 20, 30, 100%. I think this could make a pretty big run, and then that's kind of how I would go about it. So that's my extent of chasing, if it makes sense. And then OX got some good news. This is going to be very interesting to see how this guy responds into this coming week. This is definitely on the list. I could probably actually, let me just add that, make sure I have it. Let's see, NNOX, because they got an FDA news, which was big, and everyone's talking like, oh, $100, when are we going to get like $100 tomorrow? Like, I don't know. So this could be a fun one to play, potentially as a day trade tomorrow. So I would not be surprised if you wake up tomorrow morning and this thing is making some big gains. It's on that top gainer list. Yeah, it's a larger price stock, so I wouldn't think that you're going to talk about like, okay, this stock is going to be, whatever, $100 in pre-market, maybe, who knows? But I think it could be a big play for sure. Let's see. These gurus are trying. That's the thing. When it comes down to it, tell you guys to be honest, that there's too many people on with videos and of buy these stocks now, or get in these stocks now. I talk about it a lot, but in lives and stuff, when I just kind of just telling you guys the truth, not a formal video style, but that's the stuff I just stay away. I mean, I don't watch it. I mean, I know people watch all that stuff because they want to see, oh, are they going to call out my stock? Oh yeah. Like they want that positive kind of like reinforcement of like, okay, like, yeah, I got people behind me. But, to be honest, you don't really want that stuff. I personally will have to say, like, I don't really like. That's why I don't like the alerts. And people always ask, yeah, I do Discord. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be showing you, like, I show you guys all my stocks, everything I trade every Saturday, right? I do it on Saturdays for a reason. We give out tons of ideas during the week if stuff happens. But like, I'm not going to be here to say like, okay, I'm buying this stock alert at this price. I mean, first of all, why do you care what I'm doing? And you should do it yourself. That's what you want to do. So you don't need anyone to tell you that stuff. But being in more of a community aspect, I think is important because you kind of get a lot of ideas flowing, which is why we do the live stream, so we can get awesome ideas flowing in the chat. So if you have not done so already, hit that thumbs up button so we get some more ideas flowing in the chat. That's all we ask. We don't have a course or none of that stuff, and there's none of that stuff. The only stuff that I recommend is stuff that's helped me that I use. That's it. So it's like software, it's like platforms, stuff like that. That's the only stuff I will sell. FTFT Chris Sane pumping. Okay, well, see, like that, I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if this thing makes a pretty big run. So, because he's got a pretty big following. Nothing against the guy. I mean, I don't know much about the guy. I have no idea. But FTFT is a crypto play, right? If I'm not mistaken, he's a crypto play. Got a lot of volume, so maybe that was why on Friday got a lot of volume. Could be in someone's video, potentially his video. Okay, fair enough. I kind of like it here. I mean, if you can get this thing under $6, it's probably not a terrible trade. I would say, it's something that I would put on my watch list. And if I can get this thing under 6, maybe in the pre-market hours, early pre-market hours, and ride the thing for $1 to $2 gain this week, probably take my profits and run. That's probably how I would go about it. So let's see. Let's put this one up here on my list. Just to make sure I have it. I have a bunch of crypto plays. I'm pretty sure it's a crypto play. Let's pull up the site. Yeah, all these things, man, with these unsafe sites half the time. It might take a while for that to load, but we'll come back to that in a second. Okay. Okay, let's see. Doing well. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. I know it's Easter. Hopefully everyone had a good holiday. Volta charging website, buyer company, the other ones. Easily catch up. That's not. I like that. I like that. TKT. I don't know, man, about that one. It's just it got a pretty big run personally. Yes, that's a good list, Callum. That's a really good list on the Alofo Oilers. That's the thing I always recommend, and it's something that I think has helped me tremendously, and it's like one of the best things to do. Is that always take notes, always have lists. So if you take when I say that, it's like. You don't have to be like a crazy, oh my gosh, I gotta take notes on everything that happened today. No, but like, okay, I'm noticing here are the oil stocks that have been running today. Okay, let's compile that list. And so next time I can, if I'm gonna look for a potential oil run or those charts all start setting up the same way before they ran this time, I at least have them to go back to and I can refer to them quickly and get into them if I need to, right? So that's how I see it. Let's see. People say technicals don't work. People can do it. You can trade however you want. I think for trading, technicals are massive. and they all blend. Okay, that's the other thing too. There's a reason why. Now, technicals 100% matter when you're talking about like those penny stock runners on the day, because many times a lot of these stocks that go up 100, 200, 300% off of news, the valuation makes no sense, right? They may have gotten like positive data, right? That doesn't really mean much, but the stock could be up 200%, right? So there's no fundamental, you can't fundament for a lot of these stocks, you can't fundamentally come in and say, yeah, it makes sense. Like the value's there for like 90% of the time. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the times fundamentals and technicals blend. So, okay, if a stock starts dropping down and like, for example, FTFT to a degree, we have some support down here on like in the low fours. Okay. The stock comes down to this level and it seems to be bouncing off this level. So in some way, shape or form, right, we have technical support there. Great. At the same time, buyers come in. So you could look at it two different ways. The buyers are coming in and saying this stock is fundamentally undervalued potentially at these levels because they keep buying it multiple times at those levels. Or you can look at it saying, hey, this stock's got support there. So that's like the same, in my eyes, it's like the same thing to a degree. I think it's super, super helpful, but you don't need to trade off technicals. If you're a longer term investor, then technicals don't matter, right? Because if you're going to buy like Apple stock, let's pull up AAPL. If you're going to buy Apple stock, okay, right now it's kind of got some trendline support. But if Apple drops below the support, right, and goes to like 112, 110, I'll probably just buy, if I like Apple long term, I'll just buy more Apple, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, Apple's fundamentally, right, I like the company, I believe in the company, I believe in what they're doing, and I don't think it's going anywhere. So I can still anticipate the growth. And that's people think for Tesla going forward, people can see that now Tesla's got a whole other side of like, oh, is it overvalued? Is it not? Future pricing, are they going to be able to live up to the expectations? I know there's a lot of stuff that goes in. But it's up to you. It's whatever works for you. I mean, nothing works all the time, right? And, technicals are not going to work all the time. Fundamentals don't work all the time. GME, can you tell me that GME is fundamentally, a $200+ stock? No, right? No, it doesn't make any sense. But it's up there, so it's like something's driving that thing, right? So there's you're always going to have both sides. I can see how people say it, but it's like it's whatever works for you, really. Let's see. Baba's still holding its long-term trend line. Let's take a look at that. Alibaba, yeah, it's got some support in the low twos, and I honestly like this thing. If you're looking, and this thing has been, it crushed it the past, year, but it's at a much more favorable spot. I think when is Alpha Lake going public? I wear all their stuff. I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing, but whatever. BioNano. BNGO is a stock that I just, let's see what it's up to. I mean, it's kind of found some support here in the low 7s, upper 6s, so it could be a decent idea. I mean, I personally, I'm not going to touch it because, it's up so much since where it was. I know you're pricing in future and then genomics. I understand all that stuff, but I don't know. I would like to see the company, actually, my take on it is probably, I want to see some more numbers. I want to see them handling their cash a little bit better because they have a history of not doing so, burning through their cash pretty fast. So once I start seeing that, then maybe I can, come around to it. Personally, for me, nothing against it, just not a stock that I am interested in at these prices personally. But that's just me. I think the energy stocks will be solid this week. I think they will for sure because I mean. We're getting back into some of that sector kind of rotation. We saw the NFT stocks. NFT press release kind of stuff is fading out pretty quick. So personally, I think that may be not over. It's always going to be there. But I think that we're going to start seeing a new kind of sector start to emerge as like, okay, here we go. I thought maybe it'd be Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's going to be just right in the background. Those crypto plays are in the background until Bitcoin goes for a new high. So Bitcoin's like right there. It's within striking distance of, okay, any day it gets a quick pop and this thing might be right back at all-time highs because it's at 58,000. So it's right there, but we'll see. Obviously, I think we're going to need to get all-time highs again for a lot of those crypto plays to run. And maybe they also run with the Coinbase IPO. If Coinbase IPO comes out and it starts going crazy, the thing goes flying. I don't know what the price, what they're going to be, what the price point's at. But if that thing goes nuts, I think you're going to see a lot of crypto plays, a lot of crypto exchange kind of companies. They'll go crazy too. trade with a Roth? Yes, I do. I have a Roth that I started to fund to avoid taxes. Ideally, that's probably what I'm going to do. When you get to the point, that's what I want to do eventually at one point in the future. You get to the point where like, okay, you start thinking about the tax game. So if it becomes a game, I think for a lot of people who are like very, successful longer term traders, right? It might make more sense in your personal accounts to maybe go and buy and have your longer term holdings in your personal account. I'm just kind of off the top of my head. Let's see. Off the top of my head, if you look at like your personal account and you're in stuff for long-term capital gains, you're going to be paying less than short-term capital gains. But if you're in a Roth, right, you don't have to pay tax on that, right? So maybe it makes more sense. So I use a Roth personally, but that's just, I have it, but it's not as big as my other accounts as of right now. Over time, I like to be able to use that as my main account, I guess, in a sense, to have some more fun with it. Sorry if I keep these notifications, my bad. So that's at least my take. Wash trading taxes. I hear you. I went through the whole process too. When it comes down to it, it stinks, but at the same time, the way that I see it is that the way that you're going to get yourself in trouble is if you start trading with money that you've made and now you'll start losing that money. So if you got like $100,000 account, or let's say you have a 50 grand account and you double that last year, okay, you're at 100K. Now you got to pay taxes, you would think, right, on that $50,000, for example, right? But now you're thinking, okay, your account's at 100K, I'm going to keep going and use my money to make more money. Now you drop down to like 75, you drop back down to 50K this year, you still owe the taxes from last year. So that's where you get into trouble. So I hear you. That's where I would say be careful. How I do it is I put money in a different account. This past year, it wasn't a big deal, but next year, so probably going to do is I'm probably going to leave my account as is, and then just take out chunks and put it in a different account, either a high interest savings or put it in a cash park, put it in a high dividend stock, put it into SPY, put it into Apple, put it into Google, put it into something like that, and just forget about it. Come tax time, liquidate that, that Apple, that Google, whatever it is, and pay your taxes. Yeah, you're still risking because technically if the market crashes, those stocks will come down. Yes, that's still a risk. But you could do that if you feel like you have to have your money working for you and you don't want to give it away or you don't want to put it in a high interest savings, which you're not getting paid much anyway for it right now, then maybe that makes some sense. So that's at least how I go about it. Let's see. Sector watch list is cool. Is huge. I do follow Max Shooting. He's hilarious. I watch a lot of his videos. He's a funny guy. He's into a stock video too. I seen like one of his videos too. He did like he was down like ridiculous amounts in like CCIV. HJLI. I like HJLI for a news spike. So here's the thing. I can almost bet that they're going to drop news at some point and the stock is going to spike like we saw in prior months. So it's a patience play. Here's how this is an example of a swing that I would be in pre-pandemic times where I'd maybe buy in here up around $8 and I'd have to average down until we get the spike. And then your patience pays off, a couple weeks, a month later. That's at least how I see it on HJLI. I wouldn't sell it down here. I have these lines for me under about 525 is my max risk to the downside. I don't want to see it hitting a new low under 525. So I like it. It's still on my list. I just haven't gotten back in just yet. So as I rotate out of stuff that I'm currently in, I'm looking for new plays. As long as this one's sitting down here under like $7, $8, I'll probably take a shot at it. Will I get it in time of the news? You can never time the news. Someone's asked me too. Okay, I understand there's day trading, there's the swing trading aspect. Well, how do you get into a stock before they have the news? You don't know. We don't know. You can do a lot of speculation. You can understand the companies. You can understand what's hot, and you can get a feel for the management and get a sense like, hey, what does this company do? HJLI, I have a feel because I've traded it many times in the past. I have a feel that they will drop news at some point in the future to get their stock kind of popping on up. So that's why I have more confidence in playing that. And of course, on top of that, you can dive into the press releases, you can dive into filings, you can look into their social medias, and there's a lot of hints on those things, right? hey, we have data coming out by the end of the month or by the end of quarter one or by, quarter two. They'll tell you they got data. Now, of course, the risk is that the data is bad and you get screwed. But many times you get the spike on positive data, and that's where you can take your profits. So that's how I used to swing, realistically, and that's how we're getting kind of back into something like that. That's how the swings were working, pre-pandemic. IPOF, Chamath SPAC, that's pulled back. I think a lot of SPACs, man. This is in a really good spot. IPOF down around $10. I don't know enough about it, but down $10 I think is fine. IPOE is the merger with SoFi, right? Another Chamath SPAC. Yeah, this is the SoFi one. Under this $18 looks decent in my eyes. iSun, I actually think I've been watching this one. It's on my list. iSun, yeah, it is. It's on my list. I think iSun's got a double bottom here. I think this could be a play for a bigger move. Now, here's the thing. It's got to get up over the 50 SMA, up around $16, $17. Gets over $18. iSun is beautiful, I think, for a bigger move. I think it's a solid play. I like that one. It's setting up, but for me, a lot of the stocks, the problem here that we kind of have is that they've bounced off the bottoms the past couple days after last week. And so okay, you didn't get the bottom, but now, where do you want to be looking at? You can be looking for breakouts and things like that. So a lot of stocks are going to be breaking out over these prior highs that we saw after the bigger dips at the beginning of March. The mid-March kind of rebound before the second dip, I guess, the double dip. Those are the prior resistance levels to break over. So a lot of stocks, Tesla included, a lot of tech stocks, they all have a very similar looking chart over those levels, and a lot of high growth stocks too. Over those levels is going to be key for the move to the upside. Okay, OEG is also on my list as well. Let's pull this bad boy up. So it's good. It's good when we can kind of pull up when stuff that from my list you guys are calling out, which is great, which is just awesome stuff. OEG is setting up too. We got some support down towards $5. Yeah, it could go under 5. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see it dropping too much below some of these wicks down to like 475. So you're risking about $1 to the downside right here, but your upside is probably up towards I'd say you have upside probably up to $8 to $10. Short term, targets I would say on OEG if you get a reversal, which looks pretty good. Coinbase 350, yeah, that'd be, I think it's going to be nuts. I think we're going to see a lot of sympathy plays running up on that day or in anticipation of that day on that. Neo Technicals, I like Neo pulled or pushed up. Here it is. Neo has a $35 support. So Neo's got some solid support here down towards like $35. Don't want to see it going below there. Also has the 200 SMA, the 200 and simple moving average. That's what that orange line is here, the 200 MA on the daily chart. Also, MA 200, 200 SMA, they're all the same thing. Moving average, simple moving average on the daily chart. So this thing, again, similar chart setup, right? So what are we looking at? Over this 46, that gets Neo back to the upside. Also, one thing to note too, I'll pull this up. Neo has, not that this matters because you want to take analyst price targets with a grain of salt all the time, right? Because sometimes they manipulate things and you see, right? It's so funny when you look at like an analyst price target sometimes by some firms and then notice all of a sudden, like for example, I don't know, Goldman Sachs analyst comes out, puts a buy rating on a stock. The next day you say, hey, Goldman Sachs just sold, all their position in this stock. Like what happened? Well, they had to get out. They got to get that stock up so they can get out, right? And that's kind of how sometimes you see what happens. But a lot of analyst price targets here on Neo are significantly higher than where we're sitting. Lots of buys and holds. And I personally like it. I'm taking a shot. Yeah, it's a Chinese company. Say what you want to say about Chinese companies. I think that they got a decent shot. And I'm not saying that they're going to be beating out Tesla and stuff, but I like it, with the EV, mass movement in the future and how they're in China. They're in a really good spot, I think, for the future. So that's kind of how I see it. I like Neo. First price targets will be up in the mid 40s. And then after that, $50. And then after that, we'll see how things go. Start there. We'll start there. I still think Neo's a $100 plus stock at some point in the next year or so. But it's also a longer term play that I've got no problem with just kind of stashing away and not worrying about for a while. Happy with my gains, but not happy owing $18,000. Yeah, I know. I hear you. So there are ways to go around that. You can trade in an LLC, or you can trade under like a trading tax status, which is something you have to talk to either a CPA or get that IRS tax status. I actually just created an LLC, so I'm still in the process of figuring out all how this stuff kind of works deeper down because I really have no idea how this stuff kind of works on the tax front. But because going forward, I want to make sure that I'm taking advantage of that stuff. But you can write, when you have that ability, you can write stuff off. So you're trading your LLC or your business, right, is your trading. And if that makes 100,000 or that makes 20,000, whatever it makes, you can write off your computer. You write off, your mouse, your phone. You get a second phone, or you get like an iPad or whatever. You get a laptop. You can write all that stuff off against that trading income, which could be huge, right? If you're doing it properly under the guidance of a CPA, I would say. So I think there's some ways to not get around, but there's some ways to kind of minimize that tax burden. And the way that I kind of see it too is like, okay, you know what? Like, if I want a new laptop or something, like, hey, I'll buy the new laptop. At least I pay a little bit less in taxes and I get my new laptop. So it's kind of like a win-win. Like I'm still paying, you still got to pay for the laptop, but at least like to a degree, it's not as painful as just like buying the laptop and saying, okay, got a laptop. You get at least write that off against your income if you're set up right. So you can't just do that as anyone. You have to either have an LLC, you have to either have a business, or have to have like a self-employment income, or it has to kind of meet some criteria, but it can be done. So how often do I pull out funds for personal use? To be honest, I don't pull out of this account. I don't pull out. I have a second account that I'll pull out of. So that's like my other kind of shorter term / longer term swing trade investment account. I'll pull out of that one. I most of the time though, I'm not here for the tax savings. I'm not here for like, if I sell a stock under a year, I don't get long-term capital. I don't care, right? I don't care. But that said, I still will I'm taking some money out of that account, for example, for taxes and to pay off something that I have an expense. So I'm using that account. The goal here is to get this account from 15,000 to 100,000 in a year. So we got until September. So we're just past the halfway point. And then the anticipation is that once we're over 100K in my Webull, what I'm probably going to be doing is every week or every month, whatever happens, whatever my kind of plan at that point is take out a chunk and put it into a longer term account. Or if I have an expense or debt or whatever, then I'll use that as time goes on. That's at least my plan, at least for this account going forward. HALI filed their application, so it takes 30 days. So we should get news soon. That's why it's also one of the things on my, it's why it's high on my list as well. We should the longer that I sit here and not have a position in that thing, the more I'm kind of like, I probably need to get in that again, because I was in it, a couple weeks back and I got out because I transitioned my account, whatever. But yes. Appreciate the donation. Hey, best stocks long term. Personally, what I would say, if you're going to be someone who's a longer term investor or trader, I think trading and investing are two different things. You're probably best off with index funds, and you're probably best off with your longer term growth stocks. So the way that I kind of see it is that buy something like SPY, right? Buy something like QQQ is another one as well. You can buy that too. VOO, I love VOO. That's my record for anyone who asks me about, hey, what should I buy? If you're at like friends and stuff, if you're asking me that stuff, 100%, I just say VOO. Just buy VOO every month. Buy VOO every whatever cycle you're on, right? Just buy. If it's $5 a month, if it's $10 a month, if you can get into fractional shares, great. If not, buy it when you have the ability to buy a share. Buy that stuff, buy those S&P 500 ETFs, index funds, and just dollar cost average, buy it as much as you can. And if we see a big dip, that's where you may say, hey, if I got some extra cash lying around, let me add, an extra, couple bucks or whatever it is that you can afford and drop it in. That's where you can take advantage of buying the dips and maximizing your gains, your returns. So that's my best recommendation is probably VOO for you. Just long term. And if you're someone who, the way that I can also see it too, is that I personally strive for high, and I got a question about this too. I strive for higher than the market returns. So you're averaging, let's say the S&P, right? Averages 10% returns roughly. I strive for higher than that. Now, in the short-term account, much higher, but in the other longer-term accounts, if I can do like 30% plus, I'm super happy, right? But at the same time, I'll also stash some of those accounts in kind of like a cash park in a sense as a safety net into like index funds, into like SPY. So I'm in these things so that at least worst case scenario, I know that a chunk of my money is going to, average out 10% per year. And I know I have it in the back pocket, right? That's kind of how I see it. But I still strive for a little bit higher, but I'm also more active in my trading. So if you're not more active, if you're more of a longer term kind of buy and hold, then you're totally much better off just buying, these index funds, buying SPY, buying VOO, and just that's all you worry about. You can build massive wealth longer term, compound effect. You're going to kill it. But if you want to, the more you put in, the more time you put in, the more effort you put in to be more of an active trader. Yeah, you can lose a lot of money early on, but once you figure it out, you stick with it. You'll understand that skill of going from, let's say, maybe, the market rate of 10%. And if you can have that skill to do like 20+% every single year, even that, which for active traders, that might not sound great. But if you can consistently do 20-30% per year, that compound effect over just doing the 10% in the index funds is going to be massive long-term, massive. So I think when people see that, they're like, hey, why wouldn't I do that, right? That's kind of how a lot of people go about it. So, yes. Let's see. Let's see if I'm missing some stuff. Let me scroll back through. ALPP. Waiting for uplisting news since hit 9. It's trying to bounce here off where it's at right now. I don't know. It's kind of a weird spot. I wouldn't want to see this thing dropping below the $3 area. So that's kind of how I would see it. But I would ride the wave until it drops below $3 maybe as my support. There's one that I think I'm in like an OTC. ISWH is one of the ones that I'm in personally as an OTC. But that is me. It's just like a OTC for fun. EBON I like a lot actually down here. They just had an offering, right? Or did they? I believe they did, if I'm not mistaken. They did an offering. They pulled back. EBON, if it comes down to under $6, under 7, I mean, I'm liking it down here. Realistically, I like it down here at 7, roughly, right? I like this one a lot for a crypto play. Bitcoin pulled back a little bit here this weekend. Now, I was kind of, not hoping. I'm never going to hope and pray. But for a stock to move or for Bitcoin to move. But I was kind of expecting a little more out of it. It popped up to over 60K and then it pulled back. So it's we'll see. As long as we're putting in higher lows here, roughly, I think Bitcoin's still looking pretty strong, personally. Let's see. See if I missed. Sorry if I missed some stuff. Very influential YouTuber, 10 a.m. Thursday. Yeah, I mean, you see that the pumps, man, is nuts. And that's one thing, other thing, too, about the stuff. If I ever notice that, and I don't, and number one, that's why I don't really like to do that stuff. That's why I will never come on with the video and say, you buy this stock, first off, so no one gets that kind of feel from any video. But if I ever noticed that from a video that I made, I would just stop doing, not stop making videos. I would stop making that type of video. No, I don't want to have any, now, the way that you get around, not around it, but the way you kind of go about that stuff, the people who do that, as long as you're not putting out false information, you shouldn't have an issue with the SEC. But if you make a mistake or you happen to show an article that happens to be false, right, you can get screwed over with the SEC and I have just no interest at all. That's why I prefer to be more of the educational person, more showing more strategy and more things like that, rather than like stock picks, because stock picks is not valuable if you don't. I'd rather have people who can understand why and go make the pick themselves and not have to come back and rely on a stock pick every day. It makes more sense. Pepsi, thinking of adding it to the dividend account. Pep. Let's pull up Pep. How is it looking here? Yeah, I mean, this is one of those I think I don't know the dividend off the top of my head. Actually, here we can probably see it right here. 1.02, $1.02 per share. That's pretty nice, honestly, for Pepsi. That's going to be every quarter. That's pretty beautiful. That's a solid play. I think this is great. It would have been great at the beginning of March, right, when you had that dip. But even the 140s, I don't think is a terrible idea. If you take a look at the weekly chart, look at Pepsi, man. This thing is also kind of consolidating to a degree recently for a potential move up. I think we got to get over this 148 area. I mean, expect this is like a slower mover, at least for right now. Maybe long term, it's got some more play, more growth in it. Expect a slower mover, but also expect that nice dividend, so you get that cash flow, which that's great. NNOX FDA approved. Yes. Yes. I like NNOX on my list for tomorrow. There's a lot of plays. I think there's going to be a lot of plays come tomorrow morning that are going to be up. I mean, it's going to be a day where like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep too much because I like to get up for the pre-market and see how stuff's running. So I'm not going to sleep very much because I feel like, you're going to end up sitting here like, like waking up, like everything's going to be running. Who knows? And with futures also, let's take a look at futures as we speak. Let's refresh this really quick. What do we got? Futures are nice and green. So futures look green. We could be setting up for a really nice day tomorrow. We will see. Webull does not allow fractional shares, I believe, as of right now. Unfortunately. I think you can do fractional shares with Bitcoin. If you want to buy Bitcoin on Webull, you can buy like a dollar amount. I don't believe you can buy fractional shares, unfortunately, right now. But I think it's supposed to be coming. I do long-term swing and day trading at my account. Yes and no. I hear you on the having separate accounts. I have multiple accounts. I also kind of mess around in my main, like in my Webull account. I'll do my swings and day trades in there generally. Other accounts I'll mostly swing. So to be honest, it makes more sense, I think, to separate it so that you can wake up, because I think it's just for like a peace of mind or a mental clarity. To come into your account, right? Let's say you wake up one day and you have your swings set. They're doing what they're doing. Nothing fundamentally changed. You're still you're going according to plan, but they're down. And you see your P&L and you're down. And now you're looking like, oh man. And you take a day trade and it was a success. It was a good day trade. It was profitable. But you look at your P&L, you're still down. And you're like, oh man. Like if you can make sure that that's not going to affect you too much, then don't worry about it. But if that's affecting you too much, then put it in different accounts, or at least don't look at that P&L, right? How I've been doing it lately is I set, because when you go to your account page on Webull, it'll come up and tell you, like, if you have it set to like P&L, it'll tell you over whatever period, it'll tell you your P&L. So I have it set. I highlight, at least during the week now, I go in there and I click on like a Saturday and I have my P&L showing up from a Saturday. So obviously the market's closed, so there's no P&L. So it's zero. So I don't even see that. Yeah, you can see the account value. Yeah. So okay, sure. But I don't look at the P&L, and I think it's really helpful. So I make sure that I don't see that, or I kind of hide that from myself. Now, it might make more sense to be able to come in and fresh slate so you can see things better. So if you have a day trading account, you can say, hey, at the end of the week, I made 1% of my account, or I made $100, or I made $1,000, or I made $10,000. Great. That's how I measure myself in my day trades. Yeah, my swings are down, but they're going to fluctuate. So I can see I like having multiple accounts. I personally will swing and day trade in the same one, but that's just me. Let's see. SOS might move with ETH. Yes, SOS looks pretty. ETH is up there. It's over 2,000 still, I think, right? SOS sitting here at like under 5. I like it. They had an offering, I think, at like $5 or something like that. I still like SOS for a quick move. I'm not a huge fan of the management and how they handle all this stuff. That's just me. Maybe that doesn't matter, but I'm someone who's looking to take profits fast and leaving a small chunk to ride for a bigger move on SOS. Is how I'm playing it. So generally, NFT you're watching is CSCW, broker that I use for crypto. I actually have been using. I was thinking about it too. I was like, why don't I just buy some crypto on Webull? If I think Bitcoin's going to go up, why wouldn't I just buy it? Because I have some more cash here. Why wouldn't I just buy more on Webull? And to do that, I was thinking about it, but I use currently right now BlockFi. It's what I've been using. You also get an interest rate on that too. They recently cut the interest rates. There's been a lot of talk about like how do they get those high interest rates. They cut them, so I actually feel a little bit more comfortable, to be honest, with BlockFi in that. But I've been using BlockFi lately too. I think there should be a link down below. They reached out and they were like, hey, we can get you like a link for your subscribers if they sign up, and they can get some free Bitcoin or whatever when they sign up. But I'm still in the process of working that out, so we'll see. Let's see. Scrolling back up, CSCW, NFT play, get around people like the... that's going to be interesting. I think I played that one. It was a day trade for me last week, and it worked out. It didn't. I think I made money on it, but I missed out. I could have sold a lot closer. I had a plan in place. I'll pull it up. It's fun to look back at some of these things. So I was in this one back here on... whatever this was, the 30th. So this is like Wednesday or Tuesday. I was in it. I think it was Tuesday. and then it pushed up and it hit this. I had this line drawn in here from a prior resistance up around this 265 area, and it got rejected that line, but I didn't sell there. Unfortunately, I was looking for, I wanted to break through that and hit 3. So I had some sells up towards like 293, and I didn't get them. So I ended up having to take my profits a lot lower than where I realistically, hey, I drew this line in here. It was a resistance. If I just took my profits there, I would have cashed in much nicer on the trade. But sometimes you don't listen to your own gut, you know? It's like I took the time to put that line in for a reason, but whatever. It is what it is. Let's see. Viacom, people going back. Yes, to a degree, I think there was potentially an overpricing in to be. I think it's eventually going to push up. Here's a problem, right? VIAC. Here's the problem with it. I think. Let's pull it up. Okay, so right, massive sell-off, right? Those block sells, and the trade here is everyone's like, hey, this is going up, right? Oh yeah, this thing is got more than cut in half in like 2 weeks or less than that, right? It's going up. That's the problem. Everyone thinks it's a bounce. It's an easy bounce. Yeah, this is going to be easy money bounce. I think at some point we get a bounce. This thing goes 50 plus very, very nicely at some point. But it may just take a little bit longer. So I took a little trade last week. I lost on it because it dropped below. So I was like, okay, whatever. I thought we'd bounce when I was, here's what it was. It looked like, if I look at the 1 hour chart, we were kind of bottoming out and slowly kind of forming this bottom and bouncing, and then the next day plummet down through. So yeah, it's on my list. I like it as a bounce play. I'm just going to be patient on it because I think when everyone's saying, hey, this is an easy bounce play, it's not an easy bounce play, right? And maybe it's maybe just in the short term, but I think eventually this thing gets back up to 50 plus. So you have a decent chunk of change to be made on the stock, I think. But I'm just going to be careful, give it some time to let it kind of settle a little bit. Long term, the only stocks, personally, the one that I have in my portfolio for the long term is VISL, and it's somewhat speculative, but I like it. And it's a stock under $5. I think that's going to be a $10 plus stock at some point in the future through everything that I have been looking at and how I kind of anticipate that to move going forward. That's one that's in my long-term account, which I don't do many, and I'm thinking about adding more to it, but we'll see. I'm taking money out of that account too to pay taxes and whatnot like this week or next week. So I got to make sure that's in line, then reassess with whatever money we have there, and then go from there. That's how I'm playing it. A decent chunk of that's probably going to go to Tesla. I mean, or it's already in Tesla, so I'm not going to sell that. So my portfolio is going to end up looking like it's heavily weighted into like Tesla, NEO, and FSR because I don't want to sell those. But when I take out some cash, it's going to look like they're too heavy of a weight. We'll see. FTFT we talked about a little while ago. It's not a terrible spot personally. Let's see. My long-term trades help offset my day trade losses. I'm a profitable day trader. I love it. All right. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button so we get some more ideas flowing in the chat. We'll go for about another half hour or so, and then we'll wrap things on up. Held the bag with Zom and. Yeah, here's the thing. I've seen it happen too many times, in the past couple of years. Stock like Zom. I got nothing against Zom, right? Just to be honest with you, I think it's a little overvalued. Not maybe a lot, but I think it's overvalued up here. But that's just me. You're going to ride the hype when things are hot, right? When everything's flowing, when small caps are hot, you ride the hype, and it worked out, right? But right now you're seeing just kind of the result of like, hype is fading, it's getting heavy, and it's starting to fall through. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zom comes back down to $1 or less in the coming weeks and months. I wouldn't be surprised unless the company comes out, they got some good news to talk about, or they want to update shareholders. Unless they do something like that, I think Zom is going to slowly bleed. So for me, when you see a stock that goes from, under 10 cents to $3, let's do the math on that. What is the percent gain from, where Zom was? You're talking about the thing was at like a 5,000% gain. I'm sorry, but I'm taking my money off the table. That's at least me. Even if I miss it and I got up in here, I'm still looking at this saying, you know what? I missed this move. I'm going to make sure I don't get caught on the downside. That's another thing too. I will say, I haven't talked about. I'll talk about Idex and Sens and all that in a second here. The thing is, I saw this video. I don't watch too many videos on YouTube in the stock space personally, but I saw this video because I was just looking at like what videos are doing well. Because unfortunately, I care, but I don't care. The quality stuff I feel like doesn't do well, and the hype stuff is what does well. But that is what it is. So you kind of have to mess around with thumbnails and titles, but I think the core value message of your video is what matters. So I watched that video. It was like a 4-minute video, super quick. And this guy is pulling up like penny stocks, OTC stocks, by the way, which was not disclosing that, hey, these are OTC stocks. Here's how you can buy them, because most people who are like on Robinhood have no idea. You can't even buy that on Robinhood, but whatever. So they're talking about OTC stocks. They're up like 17,000% the past couple months and saying these are the best ones to buy. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're telling people to buy that, and that's getting thousands of views. I'm like, oh my god. Like I can't believe that's. I feel so bad for people who have no idea what's going on. That's why I try to make sure it's educational. Like, hey, here's how this stuff kind of works. It's hard enough as it is. Buying blind, to be honest, without getting your head involved to a degree might actually work for some people. But when you're buying something up, like you're essentially buying a stock like ZOM at $3. Like, could it keep going? Yes, sure, it could keep going, but your downside is massive compared to your upside. The upside, we've already seen the upside. Their downside's huge. So be careful on that stuff. So we like to buy bottoms on our swings. So you buy bottoms, so we don't have to worry about the downside. Our downside is capped. Our downside is minimal. We buy the bottoms. That's it. So that's it. Let's talk about skills. I like it right here. Down here, I like it. We talked about, I think on Wednesday, maybe. I think on Wednesday's live. Yeah, I apologize too for those who were on Wednesday's live. I was completely out of it. Last week I literally didn't sleep. It was a mess. So because we had our foster pup was in and out of the hospital. He was having a reaction to his surgery. He got fixed. He got neutered. So I was a mess, but we're back. We got rest. We rested up. I took a nap today too. We're going to be great for this coming week. I like skills here, even as a longer term position, kind of a speculative play. I like it here. 200 SMA down towards like the 17 area. I like it. Idex is a funny one. I personally think, Idex is kind of breaking down this downtrend that I kind of had in here, but Idex is an interesting stock that a lot of people have been always asking about. It's kind of like, it's got a cult. So for me, I stay away from the cult stocks unless they are bottomed, unless they're bottomed out. So for example, like CEI at $1, I'll take it. I'll take a shot at it. Idex would have been great down here under 3. Over 3, I don't know. It certainly could go up. It has a lot more, could certainly make a run towards 5. It's going to rely on small caps heating up, and I think that's where you get the kind of the hype will come back into Idex personally, unless they drop some news. I haven't been following up to date too close, so I don't know. But technically speaking, yeah, you have some support down towards like 250-ish. Wouldn't want to see it going much lower than that. Sens, we've covered a couple times on the second channel, I think a while back. Which I'm not sure if you guys know. The second channel, stock trends, should be linked below. We have some fun. I'm messing around with some titles on that channel. So if it comes off kind of like as like stupid like titles, it's because you gotta kind of adapt, right, with the algorithm these days to a degree on that channel. But the intentions and the stuff we talk about here, I'm not saying, hey, buy the stocks. We talk about support, resistance, price targets, analysts, why a stock's moving, the news, all that stuff. So at least we're informed. We're not just blindly talking about stuff. Sens has got decent support, I think, right here. 250. Would like to see it holding this rough 250 area. Under that, it seems like, though, the more it tests that 250, the heavier it gets, and the sooner we're going to see a pullback, a pull to the downside. So under that, down towards $2 could be a better spot, personally, if things stay quiet here on this front. GNOG in the 1280s, hoping to ride it back. I think it's going to be patience on that one, but I still like that. Too many people bag holding YouTube stocks. Yes, that's the other thing too. Bitcoin price prediction. I don't know, man. I'm on board. Like, I'm not the Bitcoin guy. I'm on board with, hey, let's run to 100K. Like, I'm here for the ride. But I have Bitcoin. I don't have a ridiculous amount, maybe like 5% of my longer term portfolio or so. maybe like a little bit, maybe like 7% or something like that. I don't know. And I actually have a little more in BlockFi as well. So I got some. But let's ride the wave. That's how I kind of see it. I think the bull market is still here to stay for the next couple months in terms of crypto. So I can't tell you. Once we get over 61,000, maybe like we're talking 75K is the next point, and then I think 100,000 is going to be a very strong psychological resistance. And then maybe we see a pretty big pullback next year, into the end of the year, and then that could be the opportunity. I want to make sure that I'm locking gains in on the way, though, on my Bitcoin holdings. So I'm not looking to get, bagged on it. I'm not looking to be a bag holder on that stuff. Make sure I take my money and move on, right? That's kind of my philosophy anyway in stocks. The way that I see it is if you can compound at 30+%. I mean, my short-term accounts, the goal is to do 100+% per year. You can do 100% per year, man. You're going to be, compound effect on that trading is just insane. But that's how I see it. Let's see, AZRX maybe worth watching. Low float cap. Let's take a peek at that one. Let's pull this bad boy up. Pulled back. Dropped off, failed drug trial, but it hasn't. Yeah, this is one to have on your list because it's right back down to a pretty good spot. I mean, under $1, if it comes down, it could come down to like 75 cents, 65 cents. It had these lows. But we just had that dip on the bad news. I like to give it some time. Let it kind of marinate here. Let's see what happens. Let it kind of do its thing, and then you can assess. Okay, hey, boom, I'm going to hit this thing. It's got it's holding $1 support here. Boom. But we may see a pullback. It may come back down. It may drop down to like 75 cents, and that could be a better area that it starts to show support and starts uptrending from there. That's how I'll wait. But keep it for sure on a watch list, which is what I would do. Like if you're noticing, hey, this is an oversold stock, I have a list of bottom plays, oversold plays. I put it on my list, so I got it. I can always refer back to it, right? Callum, head 2 a.m. Man, get some rest. 2 a.m. That's awesome. I appreciate you for coming in. Let's see. NNDM. NNDM is a funny one. I mean, we'll hit it because we might as well. $8 is a support for now. Under 8, we got down towards like 650-ish. $6 could be an area. Is ARK still buying? I wonder if ARK is still buying. I can pull it up. Let's see if I can pull up Lucid Tracking and pull up. This is lucidtracking.com. We can see if NNDM, if ARK Invest is still buying or if they're selling or what they're doing. Okay, they have actually, it seems like in ARKQ, it seems as if that's where they hold the most shares. They have lightened the weight. They've been selling, they actually just bought a good chunk back, but they have been selling and the weight has dropped. So in terms of the weight, okay, in the ETF, what stocks kind of weigh more in the ETF, where they have more of their holdings. And so they have more holdings elsewhere, it seems like, as of right now, compared to NNDM. So that's, take it with a grain of salt. ARKW saying the same. So they have been selling, though, if I had to say. ARKW, they haven't, not that much, but they've been selling. They still got over 5 million shares in ARKW and over, almost 7 million shares in ARKQ. So they're still holding a good chunk. They believe in it. So I think it's a decent spot. I think if it comes down further, it could be a better buy down towards 6 if it does drop that far. We'll see, though. Let's see. XL. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I also saw the S3 on HEPA, man. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens, but we'll take a peek at that. XL, man, this thing has gotten crushed. For me, the way that I see a lot of these stocks is sometimes, fundamentals, you may look at them, but sometimes fundamentals sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes these things just get hit and they get brought down, manipulated, whatever you want to call it, and then they'll be good, good for a reversal. So for me, it's still downtrending. So until it breaks a downtrend, I'm not a huge fan of it. I just don't need to be. I don't need to be in it. I don't need to be in it. If you're in it for more of a fundamental undervalue for the longer term, then yes, that's one thing. What's going on, bud? He's getting up behind me. I don't know if you guys can see him. So yeah, I think it's sitting. Just give it some time. I was in XL Fleet from the SPAC days, 10 something average, sold the thing over $20, over $30 maybe, and I was like, hey, I'm taking my money and I'm running on that one. I made so much money on that one, not so much, but percent wise, I crushed that trade, and so I took my money and ran, and that was it back in the day. But for now, let's give it some time. Maybe if it finds some support here down towards $7 and it holds up, and the downtrend breaks, that's a better look. S3 on HEPA. I did see that earlier today. Let's pull this up. This is BAM SEC. We can look at SEC filings. Here it is. Yeah, on the second they filed an S3. Yes, $350 million S3. Okay, so we'll see what happens here now. This could be potentially setting up on HEPA. Let's pull this bad boy up. Could be setting up for them to drop some news and then to do an offering after the news, because they just did an offering back in here at like when the stock was at like 275. They did an offering. I forget where it was, and then the stock drops down here like 225, and then it's dipped. It's recovered a little bit, but we're looking. I want more. I want like 225 plus on HEPA. So with the S3 on file, understand that that's your downside risk of an offering. So being careful there. With news, many times what a company will do is they'll have that S3 on file so that they can do an offering whenever they want. But many times they'll wait to get some attention on their company, drop some good news, the company spikes, the stock spikes, and then next day offering. That's how they'll do it generally. So that's kind of my anticipation. Potentially. We'll see. Tom, the one that I have under 5 that's in my long-term account and my IRA is VISL. I like VISL, 290 support for right now. You're talking about a drone play. You have ties to 5G satellites. I like this one a lot. They were at the Super Bowl. This is going to be, they had their earnings out of the way. They got their earnings are out of the way. It was from last week. They weren't great, but also we knew that they weren't going to be great, and they've made some pretty big progress so far this year. So I like VISL. I think it's going to be an emerging growth play in the longer term. The one that I want to kind of compare this one to is UAVS to a degree. Now, UAVS has come back quite a bit off of where it was, but UAVS went up to $17. So I'm not looking forward to like holding VISL for the next 17 years. Maybe I will. Who knows? But if I see VISL go to like $5-10, I take profits. That's how I do it. So I'm in the stock. I take my profits and I move on to the next one. And if I like it again, if I really want to get it back in, I'll wait for it to come back down to support. I'll give it some time and I'll re-enter. That's how I'll do it. Yeah, in terms of HEPA, that's what you're thinking too. Yeah, I think that's what we could see, but at the same time, you never know. They may just do it. We may wake up tomorrow or Tuesday or Wednesday. They may just do an offering. So if HEPA starts to kind of get heavy and stops doing moving and making its kind of round on up, the good news is that I kind of like how it's over the weekend. So maybe it's not caught by everybody. So you may not see much of a reaction come tomorrow morning on HEPA. If we wake up tomorrow morning and HEPA's down like 10%, because of the S3, it may happen on low volume. Wouldn't be surprised. I may buy the dip. That's just me. Yeah, George is our foster dog, but it's behind me. Have you looked at Riot? Well, you may have just opened up the can of worms here. I'm actually in Riot. I like it. I think Riot makes a bigger move. Obviously, Bitcoin all-time highs. If it happens in the next couple of weeks, then yeah, great. If not, I still think Riot has a move to like 65 in store to get back to where it was a few weeks ago. But Riot and Mara are two that I like. Mara, the one that I like a little more because it had some recent news. I like both, but Mara hitting all-time highs. Or not all-time highs, they're hitting recent highs, right? Over the prior high from Bitcoin when it hit its highs. I like it. I think they're going to pull back unless Bitcoin, opens up over it makes a push overnight into tomorrow morning. I think they're going to pull back tomorrow for sure, but we will see. We will see. They're kind of they live and die by Bitcoin in my eyes here. So if Bitcoin decides to come down to like 50K again, I'll probably buy the dips on those and look for a longer term swing. I was kind of looking at, I have some size in this now. I have a couple other Bitcoin plays as well that I talked about in some prior videos. But that said, I could always add in. I always leave cash available to add in. Yeah, George has recovered quite well. He's doing better. He's still got a pretty nasty cut, but he's doing better. He's doing much better. At least he wasn't eating and stuff. So now he's back somewhat normal for now. So that's what we have going on there. Let's see. Anything else on my list that's popping up that I can see that I like? We haven't talked about really quick. Okay. Let's see. Also, comms and VISL. Comms is a 5G play as well. I like comms. Also, with the infrastructure package, they mentioned 5G. They mentioned that. And I like that. So comms under $3, I like. I'm looking to ride comms up probably to the 50 SMA up towards like 375, 4-ish. And maybe it goes towards 5 or something like that. Maybe we get a push, but I'm looking for something like that as my price targets on comms. So FTFT, people have mentioned that one before. We can briefly touch on it again because I know we got some more people in the live. FTFT is not in a bad spot. I like it down here. If you can grab FTFT under like $6, I think that's good. I don't want to see it dropping below like 425. That's my kind of like cutoff. Under 6 is pretty good in my eyes. And then I think FTFT can make a shot potentially at $10. I've been hearing that there's some rumblings of some pump action, some hype on YouTube. I don't know. But, when someone who's got a lot of followers point something out, you have to understand that is a way to trade these days. I'm telling you, that's why on Twitter, I literally follow these guys that have massive followings. I'm not following them to follow their trades. I literally will do many times we'll do the opposite of not take the trade because they're in the stock and I don't want to be in after they pump it up. But if they are, if I'm noticing a stock, for example, HEPA was one I noticed got some attention by some people, and it pulled back down. I'm like, hey, they haven't pumped this one in a while. I kind of like the entry point. Let's get in. Let's see if we can get in. Maybe they'll pump it up, and then I'll be able to sell into their pump. That's a legitimate way to trade, to be honest, these days. It sounds stupid, but that is a way that people are trading. So understanding the landscape and having a sense and a feel in like, okay, on YouTube, here's who's got the influence. On Twitter, here's who got the influence. On Stock Twits and on whatever platform, TikTok. I don't know. I don't watch the TikTok stuff, but there's some stupid videos on stocks there too. Like kids who are like 10, like making stock videos. Seriously, I mean, who knows, right? Like if there's enough attention on something and people sell it, people will buy that stuff. So having those feelers out, that social sentiment is always good. I think FTFT is good. Under 6 is where I would say. FRX is in my IRA. So FRX, we are sitting back here and let it do its thing. The merger with Beachbody. I'm not really too worried about it. Let it do its thing. I'm chilling on this guy. It's probably a longer term SPAC play for me personally. CSLN. Let's take a look at that. Oh, not CSL. CSLN. Right? That's where. Why is it not pulling up? I don't know. Maybe Weeble's doing some. Sometimes Weeble does that where it's like it just doesn't let me like log into or type in a certain stock. So we will pass that one for now. 130 current support, pharma company, cancer treatment as well. I can pull it up. Let's pull it up on Tip Ranks. CL, not CL, it's CS or maybe CS or CLSN. Is sitting here at 146. This thing, let's pull this guy stock analysis up. Yeah, this is an interesting one as well in terms of price targets to the upside. $4 price target by Brookline Capital, over 100%. I mean, it's kind of funny to look at some of these things too on Tip Ranks. The thing with these price targets on Tip Ranks a lot of times too is when you see this stuff, you might actually get these price targets to hit. It's just on a spike. It's not going to be sustained many times. Sometimes it's literally, that's what happens. Let's see. If I miss some stuff, let me scroll back. Awesome to see you, George. Guess George is getting, he's doing good. He's all good. TikTok. Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, it's the truth sometimes. It has an influence. Social media can't be discounted for sure. Yes, for sure. Imagine being in a stock because of time. But the thing is, though, right, is you'll have the other people on TikTok, other kids on TikTok who will follow someone like that, and they'll just buy it with, their parents' account, whatever, because, your parents have to give you an account under like 18. If they have money, they'll just buy it. So, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it has influence. Or you get people who just, or it's like a no face type of thing where it's like, they're just doing screen shares and screenshots and you don't know who's actually behind it, but it sounds like it could be a kid. And so it's like, who knows? Some people just, they just buy it. CLSN. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Here we go. We got this nice little box drawn in here. We're down towards support. Yeah, we'd like to see this area hold up. Sorry, man. There we go. Extend that over. There we go. We'd like to see it holding up here. The 200 SMA is right here as well. It's got some good support, I think, right down here. So you're looking at this thing for a bounce. If it drops below this 130, cut it, right? So you're risking right now 17 cents, 16 cents, which is not bad for a move maybe to like $2 plus. So you're going to go for like 50. You're going for like a 50-cent gain with a 15-cent loss. I'll take that. I'll take that any day. Waiting on news from NWBO. Good kind of treatment. DraftKings I like as a longer term play. I think that's a solid $100+ stock at some point soon. Would you buy call options on Microsoft? I don't think so because it just got a pop. Well, actually, it may be looking for all-time highs. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a big options guy though, so I don't know. Over this 246 is all-time highs. It may get a nice move. I mean, last time it broke out of the consolidation to all-time highs, it made a pretty nice move. So you could look for like maybe like a $250 as your price target. So you look for like a nice $8 move or so. Could be good. Took a position in PRQR 850. Let's take a look at PRQR. Let's take a peek. Yeah, okay. So this is interesting. This guy, if I'm not mistaken, it was your classic pop off of news. Now, understanding this, it has come down quite a bit from that spike. We have prior resistance up at this $6.30 area, okay? Two areas, okay? We got to zoom in. Back here at the end of January, and then back here at the middle to around the 20th or the 19th of March. We hit 630. Prior resistance becomes new support. So, okay, how I would see it is if 630 down to like maybe 625 area, if that area holds up as support, then I would say hold that level. Maybe if you want to add into that position for a bounce. If that breaks the downside, I would probably cut it. It's probably coming back down. Here's an example of why I don't like to buy into these stocks. If you're in a stock, for example, that's up on the day, right? Understand why you're in a stock. Now, it's a great learning experience too. The stock was up over 60+% on the day at one point, okay? You're in the stock. Why is it up? There was news this morning. Many times when a stock is up that much off of news, it is a fade the next couple of days. It fades out. If it doesn't do so throughout the afternoon hours that day, it's a fade the next couple of days. Sometimes you get continuation, but it's a rare case. Most of the time, it's a fader, okay? This is an example of a fader where it fades off. So for me, it's a day trade. If I'm in something like this, it is a day trade only, and I'm out by the end of the day. Because number one, you have the risk of the fade, which happens for like 90% of these stocks. And number two, you also have the threat of a potential offering. I'm not sure if they had an S3 on file. Many times a company will do this, and the next day, boom, they'll drop an offering, the stock price comes right back down, they raise cash, and they did their job. So that's my downside threats, okay, with this. Many times people get caught up in the news. It's so good, but you don't want to be buying this thing and holding it longer term right after the news. Always let it come back down before a potential reentry. If you really like the news, there's probably going to be a better reentry point when the dust settles a little bit, and that's what we kind of saw here on this guy. So if I was to short a stock, it would be something like this. Shorting a stock like this, if it closes in the after hours kind of weak, or it's looking weak in the after hours, I'll short it for the next couple of days. I don't short, but I'm saying if I was looking as a short, I could see this being a short for the next couple of days. You go from like $9 down to like $7. You make $2 per share on your short. You take your money and run in case they do something and the stock spikes back up again. That's it. SPAC's gonna. I think we're getting ready for the next leg in SPACs. I think it's time. I mean, a lot of these things are just so they got sold off so much, So we'll see. Man. Going to YOLO Microsoft. I mean, okay, if Microsoft breaks out to those new highs, it probably goes to 250, right? I would target that level psychologically. Could it go way higher? Yeah, sure. If the market stays hot, but that would be like a target that I would have in mind, taking some profits there, personally. So, all right, with that said, I'm probably going to wrap things up here, guys, soon. What we're going to do is we're going to go live. We might do some more lives during the week in the morning hours because I enjoy it, live trading stuff. Wednesday morning, we're going to go live again at around like 9:20 Eastern time, like around the market open. for about like an hour, just for like a live trading during the market open. I think it's fun to see, like, what am I in? I'll talk about what I'm in. I'll talk about some trades if I make them live. We've had some fun on that. I'm pumped. I am super pumped this week. We'll see how tomorrow goes in terms of some day trade opportunities, but I am pumped for this week. I think we're going to see a nice rebound in some small caps. I think we'll be back to kind of heating up on the small cap side. The market's looking really good. I mean, at some point we'll see some pullbacks in the overall market because it's not going to just go straight up. But over 400 now on SPY looks pretty juicy. Here's ZOM. ZOM is unfortunately, I think, a fader. If things stay quiet on the front of the company, ZOM might fall below 150 and just kind of fade back down towards $1. I'm not a huge fan. We just had the product launch. You could be in it for a longer term play, and that's up to you to how you want to go about it. But personally, I think it's a potential fade play where it may just fade off for the short term before we get some more updates on some sales and some numbers coming out of ZOM and future earnings and things like that. So that said, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up button on the way out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do so. This is a channel where we don't have stuff to sell you. Only things that I recommend in description boxes are like things that have helped me, other resources, research platforms, my broker, stuff like that. Always links down below to get 2 free stocks with Webull. There should be a link in either today's video or this live for tip ranks. There should be a link on today's earlier video to get 20% off the Ultimate platform if you want to get access to that. That's only going for like 2 more days. Other than that stuff, guys, we don't have any. We try to keep it more educational here. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you in tomorrow's video or on the next live. Have a good week. Stay green.